Imagine you've been carrying around a heavy backpack your entire life.
Like a massive lid-lined backpack.
Exactly. A massive, heavy backpack. You sleep with it, walk with it, work with it. You don't even know you're wearing it because every single person on Earth is wearing one too.
Right, it just feels like gravity.
Yeah.
It's just the baseline of existence.
Yeah, but then one random Tuesday, the straps just snap. The weight vanishes entirely. You'd feel so light you'd think you could, jump over a house.
You'd be totally untethered.
Exactly. So, welcome to today's deep dive, where we are exploring a thought experiment where that invisible weight has been pressing down on your brain, well, on all of our brains, for 100 million years.
And we're looking at the exact, precise millisecond that weight disappears.
Today's mission is unpacking Poul Anderson's 1954 novel, Brainwave. It was originally serialized in space science fiction back in 1953.
Yeah, and Anderson actually considered this one of his top 5 books, which makes sense because it's a massive architectural blueprint for later sci-fi.
Right, like Werner Vinge's Zones of Thought series.
Exactly. Or, it shares a lot of thematic DNA with Daniel Keyes's Flowers for Algernon. But instead of just one guy, it scales that deeply personal trajectory up to the entire planetary ecosystem.
It's wild. So instead of just recounting the plot, we're going to guide you through the social, the psychological, and the philosophical fallout of this sudden leap in intelligence.
We're going to look at the utopian parts, the dystopian parts, and what critics call Anderson's ambitopian middle ground.
Because it gets really messy.
Oh, incredibly messy. But to understand the mess, we have to start with the core premise, right? The inciting incident.
Right, the dampening field.
Exactly. For the past 100 million years, our solar system has been unknowingly traveling through this invisible energy-dampening field in the Milky Way.
So it's basically a cosmic anomaly.
Yeah, a localized cosmic anomaly that operates at the subatomic level. It basically inhibits electromagnetic processes.
Meaning it slows down our brains.
Right. In biological terms, it creates a microscopic delay in the firing of neurons across the synaptic cleft. It's like an insulator that reduces the conductivity of the entire neural network.
Which means the entirety of human history, the discovery of fire, inventing the wheel, the Roman Empire, the Industrial Revolution,
All of it.
all of it was accomplished by a species functioning with a massive neurological handicap. We built the world while running in mental quicksand.
That is the perfect way to describe it. And the novel opens at the exact moment Earth's orbit carries it out of this field.
The subatomic insulation just evaporates.
Instantly. And the speed of neural transmission across all life forms, anything with a central nervous system, increases by a factor of 5.
A five-fold increase.
Yeah.
Overnight.
Fraction of a second, really. The processing power of the biological computer is just uncapped.
And I love how Anderson introduces this because he completely bypasses the obvious sci-fi tropes.
Yeah, no scientists in lab coats staring at flashing screens.
Right. We don't start in a laboratory. We start out in a literal field. It's a rabbit.
The rabbit scene is so lyrical and striking.
It really is. So there is a wild rabbit caught in a snare. And for millions of years, a trapped rabbit has one singular, predictable response to being trapped.
Pure panic.
Right. The amygdala floods the system with adrenaline, and the animal just thrashes against the wire until it either escapes by sheer force or it exhausts itself.
Just a purely limbic, instinctual response.
But the moment the field drops, the thrashing stops.
Because the rabbit's uninhibited brain suddenly gains the capacity for spatial deduction. It's not just reacting anymore.
No, it transitions to rudimentary prefrontal logic. It actually looks at the mechanism of the trap.
It traces the tension of the wire back to the anchor point.
Yes. It calculates the geometry of the snare, it understands the concept of a lever, and it meticulously manipulates its own limb to disengage the lock.
It works itself free through applied physics, not brute force.
A rabbit doing applied physics. That one scene represents the immediate, universal shift across all animal life on the planet.
And that's why Anderson uses this highly panoramic, almost journalistic approach to the storytelling.
Right, because we don't just follow one hero.
No, you couldn't capture the scale of this with one hero. The novel bounces around between all these diverse characters.
We get a theoretical physicist, a housewife, a mentally disabled farmhand, a labor union executive.
Right, it shows both the macro and the micro effects of the change, which is what they call it.
Because a universal increase in intelligence doesn't just elevate everyone uniformly, it totally shatters the existing social hierarchies.
Which brings us to the immediate fallout. Because you'd assume, oh, a five-fold increase in global intelligence, that's an instant golden age.
Right. Flying cars and world peace by Tuesday.
Exactly. But Anderson leans into the harsh logistical realities. The immediate aftermath isn't utopia. It's a catastrophic economic collapse.
And this is fascinating because the novel posits that our old economic and social structures rely intrinsically on a specific massive baseline of ignorance.
And docility. Think about the global economy, especially the 1950s industrial model Anderson was writing in. It requires millions of individuals to perform highly repetitive, unstimulating tasks.
Right. Assembly line, manufacturing, ditch digging, basically any menial labor.
So, when the field lifts, a person whose entire job is tightening bolts on a car chassis suddenly possesses an intellect capable of comprehending multidimensional calculus.
Oh man, the repetition would become agonizing.
Physically and psychologically agonizing. They get a sudden hyper-awareness of their own exploitation.
The labor theory of value hits them all at once. They don't just ask for a raise. They deconstruct the entire macroeconomic system that put them on that assembly line.
And they realize how futile the task is in the grand scheme of their new consciousness. So they just walk away.
The entire foundation of physical labor just vanishes in an afternoon. Everyone quits.
Everyone. And it extends way beyond human labor. The animals strike too.
Yes, the animal uprising. The details in the text are so good. Like, the horses refuse to work.
Because a horse now understands leverage, weight distribution, and, the relative fragility of the human farmer holding the reins.
Right, the horse realizes, wait, I weigh 1,000 pounds more than you. I don't have to pull this plow.
Exactly. It simply stops complying. And the pigs, which we already know have high cognitive functions, they start organizing.
They map out the weak points in their enclosures. They test the structural integrity of the fences.
And they execute highly coordinated mass escapes.
It's like a Prison Break movie, but with farm animals. And then the chimpanzees in research facilities start analyzing the phonetics of their handlers and mimicking simple speech.
The implicit social contract between human and beast is just entirely voided.
Okay, so that's the local level, but this scales up to the geopolitical arena incredibly fast.
Oh, overnight. Anderson gives us these interludes detailing the collapse of totalitarian states, specifically Russia and China, given the Cold War context of the book.
Because the mechanisms of authoritarian control, like surveillance and propaganda, they become instantly obsolete.
Right. A state apparatus cannot effectively spread propaganda when literally every single citizen can simultaneously deconstruct the psychological manipulation.
They see right through the logical fallacies.
And they can trace the dissemination network back to its source.
So they don't even need to stage a violent, chaotic uprising.
No, they just organize a perfectly synchronized counter-revolution. They bypass surveillance because they can mathematically predict the algorithms and the patrol routes of the secret police.
The dictatorships just passively dissolve, the illusion of power evaporates.
And the democratic capitalist structures don't fare any better. Think about fiat currency.
Right. The concept of money requires a collective, unspoken agreement that this piece of paper, this digital marker, has value.
But when everyone reaches this new cognitive baseline, that collective illusion shatters. People stop trading their infinitely valuable time for arbitrary markers of wealth.
Centralized government begins to dissolve. And in regions recovering from colonialism, the shift is even more dramatic.
Yeah, the text mentions Africa, where a leader named Mkwanzi leverages the strategic assistance of newly intelligent apes to throw off the remaining colonial rule.
The apes help dismantle the empires. It's such a wild image. But wait, I have to push back on Anderson's premise here for a second.
Okay, let's hear.
If everyone is suddenly operating at a genius level, they still need to eat, right? They still need clean water and electricity.
Absolutely. Calorically, nothing has changed.
So why wouldn't these hyper-intelligent people just immediately pivot to designing fully automated supply chains? Why let society collapse? It seems crazy to just walk off into the woods and let the power grids fail.
That's a totally fair question. The vulnerability lies in the physical bottleneck of manufacturing. Cognitive processing speed increased instantaneously, but physical reality did not.
So their brains are fast, but their hands are still slow.
Right. The human mind can conceptualize a fully automated, geothermal-powered agricultural network in about 10 seconds. But mining the raw materials, smelting the steel, fabricating the semiconductors.
And physically assembling those robots, that all requires time and manual labor.
Exactly. It's a massive temporal gap.
Yeah.
The ditch digger conceptualizes the automated backhoe, but he fundamentally refuses to manually dig the ditch required to lay the power cables for the factory that will build the backhoe.
Ah, okay. The capability to design utopia outpaces the physical willingness to actually construct it.
That's the friction point. It creates an inevitable, messy, dangerous transitional period. The grocery store shelves empty because the truck drivers parked their rigs to contemplate quantum mechanics.
The infrastructure starves before the automated replacements can be built.
Precisely. But while this macro-level collapse of society is fascinating, the true heart of Anderson's thought experiment lies in how this leap affects the individual mind.
Which brings us to what critics often cite as the absolute strongest element of the novel, the storyline of Archie Brock.
Archie is such a crucial character.
Let's introduce Archie. Before the Earth exits the dampening field, Archie is a farmhand, and he is functioning with cognitive disabilities.
Right, he struggles with basic literacy. He relies completely on the rigid, predictable routine of agricultural labor just to navigate his life.
He's positioned at the absolute bottom of the socioeconomic ladder in the old world. But when the field drops, that intelligence multiplier effect kicks in.
The five-fold increase applies to his existing neural architecture. So Archie's post-change intellect increases to a level that pre-change society would have classified as profound genius.
He suddenly gains the ability to read complex literature, grasp advanced math, engage in abstract philosophy.
But, and here is the mathematical catch, because everyone else's intelligence also increased roughly fivefold, the baseline has shifted.
This is the core of Anderson's relativity of genius concept. I like to think of it like an analogy about economic inflation.
Oh, that's a good way to frame it.
Right. Say the central bank prints a massive influx of currency, and your bank account balance 5x's overnight. You'd feel incredibly wealthy for exactly one day.
Until you go to the store and realize the cost of milk is also quintupled.
Exactly. Your purchasing power, your relative standing in the economy hasn't changed at all. You're a big fish, but the pond expanded at the exact same rate.
So Archie's absolute intelligence skyrocketed, but his relative intelligence compared to the rest of the species is still at the bottom of the bell curve.
To a newly minted ultra genius whose IQ is now effectively off the charts, Archie is still considered a simpleton.
It really forces us to ask, what value does raw processing power actually hold if it doesn't give you a relative advantage over anyone else?
And Archie's arc proves Anderson's point perfectly, because while all the new ultra geniuses are paralyzed by existential dread or obsessing over the laws of physics, Archie just adapts.
With incredible pragmatism, the original owners of the farm abandon the property, right? They go to the city to pursue higher intellectual callings.
Leaving Archie behind. So he simply takes over stewardship of the land. It becomes his domain.
And the mechanics of how he runs this farm are amazing.
It's so cool. He establishes a cross-species management structure. His farm dog's cognitive capacity crossed the threshold, so now the dog understands structured, simple English.
And nearby towns are collapsing, which leads to the local circus animals escaping.
So Archie ends up harboring 2 chimpanzees and an elephant.
And he doesn't subjugate them.
No, he collaborates with them. They form this cooperative based on mutual survival and their newly shared sapience.
The chimps have the dexterity to manipulate the farm machinery. The elephant provides massive mechanical force and spatial awareness.
And the dog acts as a rapid communication relay across the property. Archie is basically the project manager.
Yeah, overseeing the logistical planning, calculating crop yields, predicting weather patterns.
Making sure they have enough caloric distribution to survive the winter. Archie thrives. He finds peace and purpose.
Which emphasizes the thematic core of the book. Archie's story suggests that what ultimately matters isn't the raw processing power of the brain.
It's how one chooses to use it and who one chooses to be. Empathy and stewardship scale way better than pure logic.
Exactly. Archie finds equilibrium. But for others, particularly those who are already functioning highly in the old world, the sudden influx of awareness is an absolute curse.
The dark side of the change. The psychological cost.
Not everyone handles it well. A romanticized notion says extreme intelligence solves all distress, but Anderson dismantles that.
Right. Many people literally go insane from the sudden influx of perception. It's massive sensory and existential overload.
Imagine your brain suddenly possessing the processing speed to simultaneously analyze every microscopic flaw in your interpersonal relationships,
And deconstruct the chemical meaningless of your own biological impulses.
while viscerally comprehending the absolute insignificance of your existence against the vast scale of the universe.
I would lose my mind. The dread would be overwhelming.
It leads to widespread psychological fragmentation because the human brain evolved to filter out most sensory input just so we can function.
And when that filter is forcibly removed, the clarity is paralyzing.
Anderson illustrates this stark dichotomy through two characters, Peter and Sheila Corinth.
A tale of two Corinths. Let's look at Peter first. He's a theoretical physics researcher. When the field dissipates, his pre-existing genius scales into the stratosphere.
He immediately conceptualizes physical laws that were previously beyond human reach.
He thrives. He partners with other scientific heavyweights like Felix Mandelbaum, Nat Lewis, Helga Arnulfsson.
And they bypass the collapsing global infrastructure to begin designing an interstellar spacecraft. For Peter, the change provides the ultimate canvas for his mind.
But his wife, Sheila Corinth, experiences the exact inverse reaction.
Her storyline is so tragic. Before the change, Sheila was deeply embedded in the social constructs of a 1950s homemaker.
Right. Her domain was her house, her social circle, and her husband.
But when her intellect multiplies, that carefully constructed domestic reality collapses under its own triviality. Her new intellect makes her life seem unbearably narrow.
The psychological terror she experiences is profound. Her brain is generating massive philosophical inquiries, but her physical reality consists of a vacuum cleaner and a kitchen.
She loves Peter, but the shared language of their marriage is just gone. They aren't operating on the same plane of existence anymore.
She realizes that her previous contentment was entirely reliant on her own cognitive limitations. She cannot cope with the sheer volume of implications.
The loss of that ignorance is traumatic. She can perceive the cage she is in, but she cannot rewire her emotional need for the comfort she lost.
Which leads to a really heartbreaking resolution. Sheila makes a desperate choice. She breaks into her husband's physics lab and utilizes an electroconvulsive therapy machine.
An ECT machine.
Yeah, to deliberately inflict trauma on her own cerebral cortex. She induces brain damage.
She calculates the exact voltage and duration required to burn out her higher neural pathways, deliberately lowering her IQ back down to around 150.
Which, by modern standards, is still exceptionally gifted. But in the post-change world, it places her low enough to escape the crushing gravity of that cosmic awareness.
It's the level where she feels comfortable.
And then she leaves the city and goes to live on Archie Brock's farm.
Seeking out that simplicity. Now, I should briefly note, from a purely neuroscientific standpoint, ECT doesn't actually work this way.
Right, you can't just dial down an IQ to a specific target number like setting a thermostat.
It's a blunt instrument, not a precision one. But dramatically, it serves a powerful purpose. It represents the horrifying sacrifice someone might make to reclaim their peace of mind.
But looking at this subplot, we have to talk about the cultural context and the glaring criticisms of the novel.
Oh, absolutely. The woman problem of 1950s sci-fi.
Right. The fact that the primary female character is the one emotionally incapable of surviving the intellectual leap, while the men immediately pivot to mastering astrophysics, has been widely criticized as misogynistic.
It's deeply rooted in the gender biases of the era. The female character is portrayed as intrinsically fragile.
But I want to ask you, the listener, to consider something here. Is this just poor, dated character writing? Or could Anderson have been maybe accidentally making a really poignant point about society?
A structural critique, you mean?
Yes. Because society structured the lives of 1950s women in a way that made sudden cosmic awareness an unbearable contrast to their prescribed domestic reality.
That is a crucial distinction.
Right.
Peter Corinth had a pre-existing societal infrastructure, laboratories, universities, peer networks, designed specifically to absorb and channel his intellect.
Right. The society of the 1950s provided zero infrastructure to absorb female genius.
None. A man gains superintelligence. The world hands him the keys to a research facility. A woman gains superintelligence, and she is still structurally confined to the living room.
The agonizing dissonance between her new cosmic awareness and her rigidly enforced domestic isolation is what breaks her. So Sheila's breakdown almost acts as a brutal stress test of the era's social constructs.
Whether Anderson intended it as a critique or just fell into the tropes of his time, the mechanical reality of how infrastructure dictates mental health is devastatingly clear in the text.
So as some people like Sheila break down under the weight of this new reality, society at large begins to fragment into bizarre new configurations.
Which brings us to the concept of ambitopia.
I love this term. It's not a pure utopia, and it's not a dark dystopia. It's a realistic exploration of diverse, chaotic human reactions. Shades of gray.
Humans desperately trying to construct new frameworks for meaning when the old ones evaporate.
And some of that desperation takes extreme forms. There's a faction of the population that actually tries to invent a machine to generate an artificial inhibitor field.
They want to project this field over the entire planet to return Earth to its stagnant state.
They literally want to plunge human cognition back into the dark ages because the anxiety of infinite potential is just too heavy.
They're willing to sabotage the evolutionary leap of the entire species just to cure their own existential vertigo.
Thankfully, that plot is thwarted by the Advanced Scientific Coalition, but it highlights how people cope. Others turn to pseudoscience or invent new anti-scientific religions.
Like the third ball.
Right. You'd assume a species capable of mapping subatomic structures in their heads would discard religion entirely. But instead, they invent incredibly dense, mathematically rigorous mystical philosophies.
Which highlights a core theme of the book. Even with superintelligence, the human need for transcendence and meaning persists.
It's not a glitch in our cognitive software that gets patched out. It's a fundamental feature of consciousness. As their understanding of the universe expands, the perimeter of the unknown also expands.
So they need even more complex spiritual scaffolding to bridge the gap between what they can calculate and what they can feel.
And speaking of feeling, how they relate to one another fundamentally alters the mechanics of communication.
Oh, this is one of Anderson's most unique and honestly critically divisive literary devices.
The parentheses shorthand. It's so cool. How do beings capable of processing thousands of variables a second actually talk to each other?
Because the slow, linear vocalization of vowels and consonants becomes agonizingly inefficient.
It's too slow for data transfer. So the text uses parentheses to show unspoken, implied meanings in conversations. Spoken dialogue is stripped down to a bare minimum. A character might say 2 or 3 words out loud.
But following those spoken words, Anderson inserts massive paragraphs enclosed in parentheses, representing the immense volume of nonverbal data being exchanged.
I compare this to the way 2 best friends can have an entire conversation across a crowded room with just a raised eyebrow, but scaled up to a planetary hyper-intelligent level.
Right. It's like high-frequency algorithmic trading, but for empathy. They are processing microscopic pupillary dilations, fluctuations in dermal temperature, subtle pheromonal shifts.
The 3 vocalized words just serve as the anchor point. They decode the biological metadata so perfectly that they achieve this state of empathetic resonance. The potential for deceit basically plummets.
Because the physical reality of the body constantly broadcasts the true intent of the mind. And some humans take this even a step further.
The sense.
Yeah, the sensitives develop actual telepathy. Now, obviously, this is another speculative sci-fi element without scientific backing.
Right, telepathy is a pulp staple, not neurobiology.
But within the internal world-building logic of brainwave, it makes sense as the final destination of this communication evolution. They learn to directly perceive and decode the electromagnetic neural static of the minds around them.
So, having fundamentally changed how they communicate on Earth, humanity naturally turns its massive new intellect outward toward the stars, the cosmic perspective.
The claustrophobia of a single planet becomes unbearable for the most advanced segment of the population. Peter Corinth, Nat Lewis, and their coalition utilize their uninhibited intellects to crack the ultimate barrier, the speed of light.
They invent faster than light, or FTL travel.
They construct a starship and launch an expedition into the wider galaxy.
And this space voyage leads to the ultimate reveal, the massive twist of the novel.
The twist that redefines the entire thought experiment.
Tell them the twist.
So, as humanity explores the galaxy and makes contact with alien civilizations, they uncover a terrifying statistical anomaly. The invisible energy dampening field that Earth was trapped inside.
Yeah.
It wasn't a universal constant. It was a highly localized bubble, just around Earth.
Oh, wow. So all other alien races evolved outside the dampening field.
Exactly. Which means these ancient, spacefaring alien civilizations are naturally only as intelligent as pre-change humans.
I marvel at this premise. It's brilliant. It means humanity's massive leap wasn't an evolution to a galactic standard. It made them cosmic anomalies.
Earth wasn't the backwater of the galaxy. It was an evolutionary pressure cooker.
It's like discovering humanity has been training with weighted clothing for 100 million years. Our ancestors had to invent agriculture and build civilizations while their brains were functioning in molasses.
We had to compensate for the dampening field through sheer biological tenacity.
Yeah.
And the moment the weights came off, humanity instantly leapfrogs every existing civilization.
We are the undisputed super geniuses of the universe.
Entirely without peer. And this revelation is the catalyst for the climax of the novel. Humanity literally splits in two.
The Great Departure. The highly advanced humans realize returning to a terrestrial existence is impossible. They orchestrate a mass exodus.
Millions depart for the stars to set up a new society free from Earth's physical restraints.
But they don't become conquerors, do they?
No, because of that empathetic resonance we talked about. They plan to act as unseen helping hands to other races in the universe. Subtle guides.
Benevolent elder gods. Which leaves the question, who inherits the Earth?
The individuals who remain. People like Sheila, who chose a simpler existence, and Archie Brock.
We return to Archie. He's standing in the ruins of this complex society, along with his sentient animals.
And critical analysis almost universally points to this ending as a clear Adam and Eve illusion.
Archie serving as the new Adam on a newly reset, simpler Earth. He cultivates a cooperative ecosystem where the inhabitants finally communicate on a level of mutual respect.
It's a quiet, deeply allegorical conclusion.
So summarizing this deep dive, Brainwave is a fascinating artifact.
It is. It definitely suffers from some rushed pacing and flat characters and obviously those 1950s gender biases.
But its bold, unhinged, and ingenious premise makes it a masterpiece of the genre.
It asks timeless questions about whether increased intelligence changes human nature. And it reveals that for some it brings monumental compassion, and for others, isolation and cruelty.
The intellect is just the engine. The human spirit remains the steering wheel. It provides power, but not direction.
Well said.
Which leads me to a final provocative thought I want to leave with you, the listener, to mull over. We've discussed how the society in the novel collapsed immediately because its economy relied on a specific level of ignorance and docility from the masses. The systems required an unquestioning populace to function.
Right. The moment they could critically analyze their exploitation, the gears ground to a halt.
So look around at the world you live in today. Look at the data algorithms curating your information, the macroeconomic structures dictating your housing, the supply chains putting food in your local markets. If everyone suddenly woke up tomorrow with a flawless ability to see through exploitation and critically analyze every single system they participate in, how much of our current daily reality would simply cease to function by noon?
It really forces you to evaluate the foundation we are standing on.
The invisible weights we carry might be the only things holding the architecture together. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating, complex world of Poul Anderson's Brainwave. Keep questioning the systems around you, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.